Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining. My name is Sheila Sells. In this presentation, Selecting Rich Text for Instruction, we will explore how high quality, complex, and diverse texts deepen comprehension, foster engagement, and create inclusive classrooms. We will examine the power of genre variety, the science behind how the brain processes reading, and practical strategies for selecting texts that meet the needs of all learners. Literacy is more than just reading words on a page. It is about unlocking understanding, empathy, and critical thinking. The texts we choose for our students play a pivotal role in shaping their learning journeys. By the end of our time together, I hope you will leave equipped with more tools to choose texts that not only align with standards, but also inspire curiosity, reflect student identities, and build lifelong readers. Let us dive in. Have you ever noticed how some books stay with you longer than others after you've finished reading them? I know for me, some books fade away from memory almost instantly, and the difference often lies in the richness of the text itself. So let us explore how selecting the right text can transform reading from skill into an experience, one that builds comprehension, critical thinking, and even cultural awareness. We will start by comparing two types of text we might use in the classroom. On one side, we have rich text. Think of novels like Esperanza Rising or speeches like Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream. These are layered, culturally full, and demand deeper thinking. They are not just about what happens, they are about why it matters. Students encounter complex vocabulary, grapple with themes, and see their own experiences reflected. On the other side, we have superficial text, like simplified, leveled readers or the run of the mill passages. Now, although these have a place for skilled practice, they often lack depth. The plots are predictable, the vocabulary is limited, and they rarely invite discussion. Now, of course, both can teach reading skills, but rich texts do something more. They ignite a student's curiosity. They are the books you hear students discussing, quoting, debating, and they are the books that students remember years later. Rich texts like those we see in Esperanza Rising or The Watsons Go to Birmingham do three powerful things. They deepen learning through complex vocabulary, layered meanings, and critical thinking opportunities. Students move beyond that surface layered comprehension. They build engagement. High quality narratives and themes, whether in fiction or nonfiction, sustain interest because they matter to the readers. And they also promote equity. Culturally relevant texts validate diverse experiences, ensuring that all of our students see themselves as part of the literary conversation. In contrast, superficial texts often lack dimensions. They might teach decoding, but they rarely inspire a student. Now, let's talk about genre. Just as a balanced diet includes different food groups, a balanced reading diet needs diverse genres. Take fiction and nonfiction, for example. Fiction, like The Boy Who Tried to Touch the Sun by Veda Azim or The Turtle with an Afro by Carlotta Penn, pulls us into an imagined world, teaching empathy and narrative structure, basically, how stories work. Nonfiction, such as The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind or scientific articles, trains students to analyze facts, question evidence, and see the why behind those real world events. And that's just two genres. Add poetry and drama, and suddenly students are decoding metaphors, performing dialogue, and hearing rhythm and language. When we limit students to one type, we essentially are asking them to run a marathon with only one leg. But with genre variety, Every text becomes a new tool, a new way to think. Speaking of tools, let's examine how these genres work their magic on the brain. Let's begin with the kind of text we encounter earliest in life: stories. Narrative texts are all around us, from childhood fairy tales to novels we read as adults. These are the texts that entertain us, transport us into those fun new worlds, and help us understand human experiences through character development, plots, and conflicts. When students read narratives, their brains engage in this fascinating dance of processing. The context processor helps them follow the story structure and sequence of events. Meanwhile, their meaning processor is busy making sense of character motivations and expanding their vocabulary through dialogue. They may not realize it, but their orthographic processor is noticing all of those quotation marks and paragraph breaks that signal who's speaking. And their phonological processor, well, it is working overtime to give voices to characters in their heads and maintain that natural storytelling rhythm. This is why reading narratives is powerful for developing comprehension, empathy, and oral language skills. Now let's consider informational texts. The textbooks, news articles, and manuals that fill the academic and professional lives. These texts have a different purpose. They are meant to explain and inform, packed with headings, facts, and visual aids like graphs. They challenge their brain in unique ways. Their meaning processor tackles specialized vocabulary. Think of scientific terms like photosynthesis or historical concepts like industrial revolution. The orthographic processor recognizes those domain specific spelling patterns that might be new to students, like the ology pattern in science words. For example, students may not have seen the word geology before, but by recognizing the familiar ology pattern, as in biology or psychology, their orthographic processor helps them decode, spell, and store the word more efficiently. When we encounter complex academic terms, our phonological processor helps us sound them out. And crucially, their context processor makes real world connections, helping them understand why information matters. This is how informational text builds students' research skills and content area literacy. Finally, we have persuasive text. The advertisements, the opinion pieces, the speeches that aim to influence how a student thinks. These texts use carefully crafted claims, evidence, and rhetorical. These texts use carefully crafted claims, evidence, and rhetorical appeals to sway opinions. When they read persuasive writing, their meaning processor analyzes the tone and reasoning behind arguments. Their context processor kicks into high gear for that critical thinking, evaluating evidence, and spotting any biases. In persuasive text, the orthographic processor notices those power words, terms like urgent and essential, that are designed to grab their attention, and their phonological processor helps them hear the persuasive techniques, even when reading silently. Engaging with persuasive text develops some of their most crucial literacy skills: media literacy, analytical thinking, and the ability to form the reasoned opinions that they will need to be able to do. What's remarkable, though, is how these genres rely on the same four-part processing system in their brains. Whether students are lost in a story, researching facts, or evaluating an argument, they are using their they are using their phonological system for sounds, their orthographic system for print, and their meaning system for vocabulary, and their context system for understanding. Neuroscience shows us that specific brain regions, like the inferior frontal gyrus for word analysis, the parietal temporal area for breaking down words, and the occipital temporal area for recognition, all work together in this process. This is why a structured literacy approach that explicitly teaches genre specific strategies is so powerful. By understanding how different texts engage different parts of a student's reading brain, we can become more intentional in helping learners navigate all kinds of texts with skill and confidence. To support students with learning disabilities and English language learners, instruction must prioritize explicit multisensory and scaffold approaches. This means explicitly breaking down tasks into smaller, manageable steps with clear modeling while incorporating the multisensory techniques like visual aids, gestures, and real world connections to reinforce meaning. For example, teach persuasive writing by color coding arguments. Claim is green, evidence is yellow, and providing sentence stems. I believe blank because blank. Scaffold approaches include providing additional processing time and opportunities for repetition, incorporating assistive tools like text to speech, graphic organizers, or word banks, and strategically leveraging first language strengths for English language learners while systematically building English proficiency. For example, having bilingual students compare persuasive techniques in English ads and their native language. These shifts ensure all learners can access the four-part processor model, strengthening literacy development through differentiated pathways. Selecting the right text hinges on three pillars: complexity, diversity, and relevance. So let us unpack each of these. Complex texts are the backbone of rigorous instruction. They're not just about the lexile levels, although those matter, but about layers of meaning, rich vocabulary, and opportunities for deep analysis. Think of a novel like The Giver, where every chapter invites questions about society, choice, and humanity. Pairing accessible texts with challenging ones, as recommended by Info Ohio, scaffolds this complexity, ensuring all students can climb toward mastery. Diverse texts are windows and mirrors. They allow students to see themselves and others in ways that challenge stereotypes and broaden perspectives. Whether it's a memoir like Brown Girl Dreaming or Global Folktale, these texts ensure no student feels invisible. And diversity is not just about culture, it's about genre, format, and accessibility. Audiobooks, graphic novels, and multilingual resources ensure every learner has a seat at the table. Relevance is the spark. A text might be complex and diverse, but if it doesn't connect to students' lives or interests, it risks collecting dust. Culturally responsive texts like Front Desk for immigrant experiences or high interest topics like sports or sci fi turn reading from an assignment into a conversation. Age appropriateness matters too. What captivates a third grader won't resonate with a high schooler. So, what's the sweet spot? When these three pillars intersect, we find the ideal instructional text. Take I Am Malala. It's linguistically rich, which offers the complexity, explores global issues, which offers the diversity, and inspires activism, which offers the relevance. But let's be clear, alignment with curriculum standards is the glue that holds this all together. A text that might tick every box, but if it doesn't serve your learning objectives, it is a missed opportunity. So, as you curate your classroom library or plan your next unit, ask, does this text challenge? Does it include? Does it engage? And above all, does it align? because the right text does not just teach, it transforms. So when we look at selecting text aligned with Ohio's early learning standards, we are not just teaching skills. We are shaping how children see themselves in their world. Let us explore how intentional book choices can foster a growth mindset, creativity, empathy, and conflict resolution while honoring the rich diversity of every learner. Mindset Standard 2.A. Books like The Dot show characters transforming mistakes into triumphs, teaching children that struggle is a part of learning. By including stories where protagonists of different abilities, languages, or backgrounds overcome challenges, like Emmanuel's dream, we send a powerful message. Perseverance is not about being perfect, it's about showing up as you are and growing from there. Artistic expression, Standard 1.B. Rhythmic stories such as Drum Dream Girl, inspired by a Cuban girl breaking gender barriers, invite children to move, create, and see themselves in global traditions. Pairing these interactive elements like call and response chants or sign language, it ensures that learners of all styles can join the celebration of sound and movement. Social awareness, Standard 3.A. A book like Thunder Boy Jr., written by a Native author, helps children explore identity while building empathy for experiences unlike their own. When we share stories about neurodiverse friendships, like A Friend for Henry, or diverse family structures, we don't just teach tolerance, we nurture curiosity and connection. Conflict resolution, Standard 4.C. In Strictly No Elephants, a child excluded from a club models how to advocate kindly for others. For learners who need to for learners who need that concrete tool, we compare this with visual conflict resolution charts or role play, giving every child, whether they are verbal, nonverbal, or multilingual, strategies to navigate disagreements with dignity. Standards aligned texts become truly powerful when they reflect the voices and needs of all learners, whether through bilingual editions, tactile books, or stories that shatter stereotypes. Our choices say, you belong here, creating inclusive classroom environments where every child's story matters. Selecting text for English language development requires intentionality. We will explore how to search across genres, fiction, nonfiction, and poetry, to find materials that scaffold language skills while engaging diverse learners. So let us analyze examples for each. For fiction, prioritize stories with predictable patterns and relatable themes. The Name Jar by Yang Suk Che explores identity and belonging, using simple dialogue and vivid visuals to support comprehension. Its repetitive structures, could it be, reinforces vocabulary, while the plot fosters discussions about cultural diversity, which is key for ELD Standard 3.8 on social awareness. Nonfiction, like Seed to Plant by Kristen Baird Rattini, uses labeled diagrams and sequential language, first, next, finally, to teach life cycles. This aligns with ELD's focus on functional language or the describing processes and content area terms. For example, roots, stems. Pair this with hands-on planting activities for the multisensory reinforcement. Poems like Hip Hop Speaks to Children, edited by Nikki Giovanni, use rhythm and rhyme to build phonemic awareness. This musicality aids pronunciation, while themes like self expression, I Am Enough by Grace Byers, align with Standard 1.B on artistic expression. For newcomers, use choral reading to reduce anxiety. By curating text across genres, we address all language domains: listening, poetry, speaking, fiction, dialogues, reading nonfiction labels, and writing, responding to prompts. Remember, the best ELD text both mirrors and windows reflecting students' experiences while opening new worlds. So, as we look at text justification, each text was chosen for its dual power, alignment with Ohio's ELDs, and embedded scaffolds for comprehension. Let us examine how these features unlock language development. In the name JAR, this text doesn't just teach English, it validates English learners' lived experience while giving them tools to navigate social interactions. In Seed to Plant, this book grounds abstract words to concrete, this book grounds abstract words in concrete experiences by linking academic language to observable phenomena. Hip hop speaks to children allows poetry's musicality to lower affective filters, making it a safe space for hesitant speakers to practice language. In your learning environment, ensure not to choose text at random. They should be strategic tools and align with standards while embedding scaffolds like visual, repetition, and cultural relevance, assuring comprehension for all readers. Our texts become transformative when paired with intentional practices. For the name JAR, identity mapping with the self focus being self awareness helps students reflect while building vocabulary. With Seed to Plant, hands on activities like planting seeds and labeling parts merge science and language, and the self focus would be responsible decision making. Poetry's rhythm, the self focus being self management, let students feel English through beats. This is key for anxious learners. Just remember, every activity is a language opportunity. Effective differentiation requires intentional, layered planning. For example, a newcomer might engage with name tag icons. A seed sprouting equals sprout to build vocabulary, while an advanced English learner analyzes plant survival scenarios to develop higher order thinking skills. When addressing sensitive themes like those in the name JAR, we prioritize emotional safety by making sharing optional, fostering both social awareness and trust. This approach embodies educational equity, meeting learners where they are to ensure all can thrive. Sensory and accessibility considerations are equally vital. By adapting materials and activities, we remove barriers to participation, ensuring every student, regardless of learning style or need, can fully engage with the content, whether through tactical manipulatives, visual aids, or flexible response options. Our goal is to make learning accessible and meaningful for all of our learners. So, there is power in intentional design. Selecting materials is not just about content coverage, it is about purpose. Each resource should serve multiple roles, meeting standards while addressing the holistic needs of learners. This process revealed that quality materials must offer various entry points to engage different types of thinkers and learners. Analyzing resources shows built-in supports. Visual cues, structured routines, guided questions are essential for accessibility. The deeper realization, these scaffolds benefit all students, not just those who struggle. Advanced learners use them to tackle more complex applications of the same concepts. Think of differentiation as a philosophy, not just as creating separate lessons. It is about designing flexible experiences. When we incorporate multiple response formats, verbal, written, artistic, we do not just accommodate learning preferences, we meet students where they are and empower them to play to their strengths. The most valuable insight: materials that reflect students' lives do more than teach. They validate. Hearing a student say, This character's experience is like mine, reminds us that engagement begins with relevance. Moving forward, prioritize resources that mirror your students' diverse backgrounds and experiences. So, when we think of lasting implications, standards guide us, but students' needs drive our adaptations. True understanding develops through multiple modes of interaction, and accessibility isn't an add on, it is the foundation of a good design. To conclude, selecting rich text for instruction is the cornerstone of effective literacy education. Rich texts deepen learning by offering complex vocabulary, layered meanings, and opportunities for critical thinking, while also fostering engagement through high quality narratives and themes. They promote equity by validating diverse experiences and perspectives, ensuring all students see themselves reflected in their learning. The variety of genres, fiction, nonfiction, drama, and poetry, each play a unique role in developing skills like empathy, analytical thinking, and fluency. By aligning text with the four-part processing model, we strengthen students' comprehension, word recognition, and cross-disciplinary reading abilities. Moreover, prioritizing complexity, relevance, and diversity ensures rigorous and inclusive engagement. Scaffold and multisensory approaches make these texts accessible to all learners, including those with disabilities or multilingual backgrounds. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this presentation.